learners, and a very warm welcome to all who are watching us in today's session. I am Dr. Geetika S. Johry, faculty at School of Vocational Education and Training, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Learners, we are discussing the course on secretarial practice, which is also a part of the program on Diploma in Modern Office Practice. In our last session, we had covered under the secretarial practice course, Unit 2, which was on communication. We had divided this unit into two parts, Part 1 and Part 2. So just to recall what we have covered in Part 1 of our session on communication, we had covered why one needs to study communication, the definition of communication, and the communication models, which are linear model, interactive model, and transactional model. Now today in Part 2 of the session, we will take up the different modes of communication, the techniques and procedures for effective communication, and telephone etiquettes and manners. Just to reiterate once again, learners, we will just tell you what we have covered so far and what we will be covering. We had already covered the unit on secretary. Communication Part 1 we have already covered. Part 2 we are discussing today. Office correspondence, reception and public relations, meetings, report writing, sources of information, travel arrangements, and handling cash and bank transactions we will be taking up in our forthcoming sessions. So let's begin with communication Part 2. Now what are we going to study in this particular unit, or what are the objectives? We need to know what are the different modes of communication. We will discuss the techniques and procedures for effective communication, and we will also understand the telephone etiquettes and manners. Let's begin with modes of communication. Learners, we need to familiarize ourselves with the various forms of human communication, which can vary from one person in which you talk to yourself to broadcasting, that is communicating with millions, mass communication, and the currently popular computer-based communication. So which is the first mode of communication? First is intrapersonal communication. Now this is the kind of communication you have with yourself. So it is the most basic, though not the easiest form of communication. This talking to yourself is often useful in reminding oneself of tasks to do, rehearsing speeches, etc. So in its more complex form, it is termed as introspection. You're introspecting what you've done. You reason about the possible decisions to make. You weigh the consequences of all the possible actions. You go through your future plans, review your performance at an interview, whether you negotiated well while discussing salary, etc. A positive frame of mind while introspecting will go a long way in increasing your self-awareness and your ability to think critically about your strengths and the weaknesses. So all this will aid you greatly in improving yourself and becoming a better person, caring friend, employee, or a professional. Now most of the time the intrapersonal communication is not apparent as it takes place at a subconscious level. But it happens all the time, and it does affect almost every type of our interaction with others. Be aware. Too much of this kind of talking to oneself may make you self-critical and lower esteem. The next kind of mode of communication is interpersonal. Now this kind of communication is between two persons or among small groups of people. The most common form of daily communication is interpersonal, that is face to face, at the same time and in the same place, often referred to as dayad. Dayad means an encounter or conversation between two people. However, the present trend of this communication is shifting towards using technology-mediated channels like telephone, email, text messaging, instant messenger services, and social networking websites. Mostly this kind of communication, it is continuing of a personal nature, that is as a part of an ongoing relationship, and as it is influenced by personal feelings and emotions. It is the most common form of communication between those involved in close relationships. By close relationship we mean it can be among friends, it can be family, it can be your partners, it can be your colleagues at office, it can be your neighbors. So this type of communication is strongly influenced by the actions of another person and accordingly may erupt into a strong conflict. Some dyads, they have been existing over a long period of time, as in the case of marriage or partnership. Communicating well in dyad requires good conversational skills. That means the communicators must really know how to start and end the conversation, how to make others understand, how to respond to the partner's statement, how to be sensitive to their partner's concern, how to take turns, and how to listen. So together we can say that these abilities are called communication competencies. Now the next mode of communication is interviewing. Interviewing is a kind of communication that proceeds by a question and answer in a formal setup. Through interviewing, you learn about others. The most common form of interview is the formal consultation to evaluate qualification of a prospective employee. Another common form of interview is the meeting at which information is obtained by a reporter. It can be a television commentator or a pollster. Now, interviewers, learners, they have a very specialized skill in phrasing of questions to extract the required information. They are very good in assessing body language signals. Face-to-face interviewing is getting replaced by computer-based services like email, phone, and video conferencing. The next mode of communication is small group communication. Now, this is the communication which is occurring in small groups such as families, clubs, religious groups, sports team, special interest groups, means people who are having same interest, association of neighbors, friendship groups or work groups. Now, most small group interaction involves fewer than 10 people, and the communicators need the same communication skills as in a direct conversation in a face-to-face meeting. So learners in small group members are able to interact freely with everyone else on one-to-one basis, or even to be if they are a part of any kind of a subgroup. Now, a major difference from dyadic meeting is the possibility of putting pressure on those in minority to conform. Now, some members may be more persuasive than others and from sides or cliques within the groups. So, a subgroup may try to work towards a consensus, a general sense of understanding or agreement with others in the group. Now, individuals also get influenced by those in the majorities or in position of authority and respect. So, groupthink may occur in which a group reaches consensus so quickly that its members mistakenly ignore the other good ideas. The dominant subgroup in such situations is able to hijack the real issues. Now, all group members bring their individual competencies and ideas to such meetings and may be more creative. Now, when we talk about business as an environment, small groups in the form of brainstorming sessions are used to achieve specific purpose. Individuals with the support of the group may take risky options they would not have dared if they were alone on the job or in a dyad. Small groups may meet in person or via computer mediated channels, especially when members happen to be at different locations. The next mode of communication is public speaking. Now, public speaking is a form of communication from one, it can be one or it can be a few, to many, occurs between speaker and an audience whose numbers may range from hundreds to even millions. So, this type of communication is mostly one way with very limited chance of any feedback from the receivers. The audience at best, they can provide feedback through applause or even booing. Learners, presentational speaking is also, we can say, a form of public speaking, although with limited audience, but one may get a chance to provide feedback. The last mode of communication is mass communication. The mass communication is a communication between one source to many receivers who are located in different locations or even scattered worldwide. Mass communication takes over one or several types of medias. What are the different types of medias which we can come across? It can be through newspapers, it can be magazines, it can be radio, it can be television, it can be films, video, and the currently popular Twitter, YouTube, websites, or even Instagrams, etc. Mass communication is a very specialized discipline and is very different from all other communication forms like public or interpersonal and small group in many ways. So, how is it different from the others? First, most mass contact messages are aimed at large audience without any physical contact between the senders and the receivers. The time available for mass contact media like TV is limited and expensive. Media specialists go through the intended message carefully to ensure maximum impact in the minimum possible time. There are other experts specializing in assessing audience response. So, mass communication channels are financed and operated by large organizations or by government themselves. Now, learners, let us move on to the next topic, which is the techniques and procedures for effective communication. We know that today's world, whether it is your personal life or the workplace, it is important, or it is very important, it is information based. Every day, new communication technologies bring us into contact with more and more people in new ways. Effective communication means that the sender is able to produce the desired action or the result in the reader or audience. Now, what are the basic skills used in communication? We all know that in communication, the basic skills are listening and speaking skills, writing and reading skills. Of these, listening and speaking skills are most important and very common. You can always rewrite a message or read a difficult passage again, but you can never undo the damage which has been caused by any improper remark or gesture. So let's try and understand what are the effective communication, how we can make our communication more effective. Firstly, by improving our listening skills. Listening is hearing with thoughtful attention with the purpose of understanding. Hearing is easy and automatic, but listening involves a complex web of skills. Fortunately for us, we can all develop these skills by following these suggestions. So let's have a look at the suggestions how we can improvise our listening skills. First is, select what is important for you. Many times learners, we have seen that there will be a number of sounds around us. They can be due to TV, radio, traffic noise, people chattering around us, etc. Choose the desired sound over the others. After you have selected the particular sound, give the speaker your undivided attention. Next is, identify your purpose of listening. You need to know why you want to listen. Are you listening to enjoy? Are you listening to learn? Are you listening to evaluate or to understand or to remember? So the purpose of listening will determine the kind and the degree of attention which is required to achieve your objective. Next is, quieten the internal noise or chattering within your mind and direct all your thoughts and attentions to the present and the speaker. Don't just anticipate or plan and jump to conclusions beforehand. Listen with an open mind. Now, the most common barriers to open mind listening are judgmental listening. What do we mean by judgmental listening? Listening with the intention of determining whether the speaker is right or wrong. We have already made a judgment whether the speaker is right or wrong. The second is distorted listening. Here again, listening through filters such as personal biases or prejudices, tendency to stereotype the speaker, past experience with the speaker, expectations from the speaker, looks and appearances of the speaker, etc. So we should try and avoid all these things. We should always listen with an open mind rather than being closed-minded. Next is listen actively. Active listening means being fully engaged in the listening process. It requires adopting an alert posture and maintaining eye contact with the speaker. It also means demonstrating your interest, asking questions, and providing feedback. Another important component of active listening is paying attention to the speaker's non-verbal communication. What happens, learners, many a time, how you say something is more important than what you say. So an active listener keenly observes the tone of the voice, the eye movements, and the facial expressions, the body language, the body postures and gestures, especially the hand movements, the haste in delivering the message, and the relative time spent on specific issues. Next is taking notes. Some note taking can be very helpful and make it even necessary for keeping record of important parts of the speech. Another thing which we need to keep in mind, for being an effective listener is asking questions and clarifications. These will help clarify the listener's doubts and sometimes help bring about information the speaker might have avoided mentioning either by oversight or on purpose. Sometimes the questions may have to be restated to elicit the correct answer. Now learners, let's move on to the next skill which is required for effective communication, which is improving your speaking skills. Now, effective spoken communication means it should be clear, direct, and to the point. Now, what are some of the points which we really need to keep in mind for improving our speaking skills? First is the voice and tone. The quality of the tone, that is, it's your pitch and the volume, it should suit the occasion and the purpose of communication. The volume level can be loud at conversational level, or it can also be in whispers. The tone of the speech can be pleasant, persuasive, authoritative, or aggressive. Next is clear word choice. Learners, the pronunciation should be very clear. The complexity of words used and the pace of the speech should be fluent and in line with the audience understanding level. It's not that we are going too fast so that the audience is not able to understand. It should be fluent, but at the same time it should be in line with the audience's understanding level. We need to choose the words that you are sure that your audience will be able to understand. We should avoid using multiple meaning words or words having similar sounds or other words having different meanings. Also, at the same time, we should avoid using any kind of slangs and jargons. Use of complex technical terms should be used very carefully and sparingly. Think before speaking. Mentally rehearse the main points and the purpose of the speech beforehand. Ask questions. Ask yourself, what does the listener need and expect to hear, and what do I want to communicate? Make sure to hold the listener's interest while conveying your point. Next is introduce pauses. Now, learners, it is a very good practice to occasionally pause briefly, especially before and after making important points. It may also be sometimes necessary to repeat the main points of the speech. Good speakers, you will see, they will know when to pause speaking and just to listen. Sometimes you have to be patient and wait for the right cues from the audience so that you can resume your speaking again. Follow up in writing. Learners, if you see that your speech contains important directives or complex instructions, follow them up in writing. Do not forget that people at the best retain only half of what is said to them immediately after, and the recall rate drops steeply as time passes. So oral messages do get forgotten with time or get distorted as they pass through people. Seek feedback. Good speakers always seek feedback, both verbal and non-verbal, through body language and gestures. At the first sign of incomprehension from the audience, they pause and explain the point again. The speaker is responsible for the clear and accurate communication of the intended message. Avoid blaming the audience for not understanding. So it is the onus lies all on the speakers, how they are speaking. You cannot blame the audience if they are not able to comprehend what you are trying to say. Next is summarize. Good speakers periodically summarize the vital points at regular intervals during the speech to keep the audience focused on the main issue. Control your body language. Now, apart from the words and their tone, a speaker conveys meaning through body posture and movements, through the facial expressions, eye movements, and even hand gestures. Adding emotion to the words is a very vital part of communication. The face then has to express emotions like anger, disgust, fear, sadness, surprise, and even happiness. Now, the last here we need to understand is improving written communication skills. How you're improving your writing communication skills. Now, learners, the purpose of writing like speech is to communicate. Sometimes your first contact with the people is through written messages such as a letter of application, request for interview or email, and the quality of the written message may decide the vital first impression. We may write to inform or persuade or mobilize. Polishing your skills in writing will improve not only your personal but also your business communication skills. Now, what are the suggestions which we really need to take into account if you want to become a better writer? So, to simplify the understanding of the writing process, we have subdivided it into 3 stages. The first stage is the pre-writing stage, the second is the writing stage, and last is the editing or the revising the message. So, let's begin with the first stage, which is before writing. Think before starting to write. Think first about the purpose, what you want to communicate. The second step is to analyze your audience, their needs, their preferences, and the expectations apart from their language and comprehension proficiency. Also consider the receiver's response, whether it is going to be neutral, it is going to be positive, or it is going to be negative, all beforehand. Then finalize the techniques you can use in adapting your message to the audience and also the audience's anticipated reaction. Any particular audience will be more receptive to accepting ideas consistent with their values and interests. So accordingly, you may have to highlight the benefits or tone down the negative points of your message. All will be based on the audiences who are receiving or accepting the ideas. Then comes the next stage, which is the writing stage. The second phase of writing process involves researching, organizing, and then composing the message. A well-written message starts with the main idea, followed up with the major points that clarify and explain the idea. These points may be backed up with examples, statistical data, charts, illustrations, evidence, and clarification so as to improve the reader's understanding. All this may require a lot of research into the various points of the main idea. So after you have planned your message, the next step is to start organizing and composing the message by creating effective sentences, using of appropriate vocabulary, and developing coherent paragraphs. Remember, keep the paragraphs short and try to cover only a single point in each paragraph. All paragraphs should follow in a sequential and natural order, each paragraph linked to the previous one. Now, the range of information and the level of detail should be controlled to be in line with the main idea of the message. Also, the message should be formatted properly and typed in an easy way so that you are able to read it also properly. The document should be present in a very attractive and professional way, or in a very professional or attractive look. The last stage is after writing. Now, the last phase of the writing process involves reviewing, proofreading, and evaluating the message. You have to place yourself in the reader's shoes and read your own work with a critical eye. The conclusion is the most remembered part of the message. It should summarize the purpose and the main points and end with the final thought or reference to any needed action. Now, let's come on to the next topic, which is telephone etiquettes and manners. Now, etiquettes is the system of rules and conventions governing correct or polite behavior in society in general or in a specific social or professional group or situation. The etiquette or the rules of conduct differ from situation to situation and even from culture to culture. Now, mastering effective telephone techniques is of paramount importance for the success of any business. Everybody has to be a master in this kind of technique. Why? Because about 75% of today's business is all conducted over phone, and the figure is increasing day by day with the proliferation of cell phones. So we will now discuss the most acceptable form of telephone manners in the workplace. So learners, here we will be discussing the techniques during calling, that is while we are making a call, and answering, when we are answering to a particular call separately. But you will see that there will be many common techniques which has been adopted while calling and answering. So first, let's begin when we are placing a call. What are the points which we have to consider, which we have to take into mind? First is, plan ahead about the purpose of the call before making the call. Make sure that you have the correct phone number along with the alternative numbers if any. Try to call when you have, it is convenient for the other person. Try to adopt a pleasant tone with the person answering the call. Don't be rude. Be very pleasant and very soft in your tone. After the phone has been picked up, confirm the identity of the other party. Make sure that you have got the right person on the other end of the line before proceeding to the business at hand. Show consideration for the importance and value of the other's time. So it's always better to begin your conversation by asking, is it a convenient time to talk? Is it a good time to talk? Speak as clearly and as precisely as possible. Confirm that you have delivered all the details of the message. If you get another call while on the telephone, remember that the priority obviously is for the first caller. Apologize and ask permission from the first caller in case you have to place the call on hold. Now, if your call gets disconnected because of any reason, remember to call back immediately. Taking notes during the conversation if you feel the issue is important enough. It is always a good habit to keep a pen and a notepad near the phone. In case you want your call returned, leave your name, your company, your telephone number, and the time when you can be contacted. Closing a call. End the call with a very courteous comment like, "Thanks for helping me, really appreciate it. Thanks, you have been very kind and helpful, you have been very courteous, goodbye," etc. After the call, do your homework. Note down any necessary follow-up action. Everybody appreciates responses. So these are the points, learners, I think so, which you really need to consider when you are planning a call. Now, answering a call. Now, what points we should keep in mind when we are answering a call? Number 1, as far as possible, you should answer the phone by the 4th ring. Greet the caller with a pleasant good morning or good afternoon in a very friendly tone. Second is, identify yourself with both your name and the company or the department, and then politely add, "How I may help or assist you," or "How can I help you?" Next is, politely ask for the caller's identity in case he is not informed of the same. Try to use the caller's name frequently in the conversation. Everybody loves his or her name. Fourth is, whenever we are talking about the Indian context, we have to keep in mind that the caller may not be very comfortable in a particular language. So we should try maximum to talk in his mother tongue. If we know the mother tongue, I think so we should try and adopt and talk in the mother tongue, so that we can have a very congenial and a very friendly atmosphere. And whatever we want to convey or whatever we want to know the information, it will be very easy for us to get that. Next is, when you pick up the phone and it is for another person or department, request the caller to hold while the call is being transferred. Try to speak in a natural tone at the normal volume if the person is sitting next to you. Maintain the volume of your voice at a steady level. Just don't hype up, or don't be very loud, or don't be too slow. Sometimes the caller may insist on talking to a particular person who somehow cannot take the call. So you need to inform the caller of the general availability of that person after explaining his absence in a very positive light. The roles and duties of the person answering the phone will vary as per his own functions and the type of organization he is working in. What are the type of companies you can come across? The company could be a call center, it could be a public or a private utility provider, it could be a government department, it could be a police or a fire department, it could be a factory, or it can be a sales or marketing company, etc. So it is very important that the person answering the phone has been trained properly for the role in the communication process. So learners, to finally sum up what we have learned in this unit on communication, we have covered the different modes of communication. We have discussed the techniques and procedures for effective communication. That is how we can improve our listening, our speaking, and our writing skills. And lastly, like all means of communication, telephone communication, it has its own nuances and its rules, which we really must adhere to. So here we have discussed about the etiquettes and techniques pertaining to placing a call as well as answering a call. So learners, I hope you have enjoyed today's session. It has been very useful to you, wherein we have covered the different aspects and important aspects of communication. In case you have any queries, you may please write to us. Thank you.